as you found out on yesterday's show, Courtney B is a huge Backstreet Boys fan. You also found out I'm an NSYNC fan, but I'm both. I'm both fans of both, and we're working out our differences.
Yeah. Courtney was fangirling about the new Backstreet Boys track that was released at midnight last night. I still love you, Dana.
Thank you.
And actually, even bigger deal. Howie D of the Backstreet Boys, as we mentioned, is here in studio, and he and the group are performing at the Enterprise Center tonight. By the way, I checked, there are still a few tickets left, and he's here in studio to talk with Courtney B. Now, Courtney B, how you doing over there with Howie D?
I'm doing so good, you guys. I'm keeping it together, right, Howie?
You're doing great.
Thank you. Well, welcome to the show in St. Louis.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I imagine most viewers know that you guys are performing tonight at the Enterprise Center, but most of them probably don't realize that you have released a family-friendly album. Now, who did you make this album for?
Actually, I have to give credit to my oldest son, James. He was 5 years old. This was about 5 years ago. He inspired me to want to make this record because at the time I was just really having a hard time connecting with the music that was out there for parents and kids to have bonding, time together. And I didn't understand why. I think the movie industry did such a great job with the animated movies like Toy Stories and the Wreck-It Ralphs and the Minions, like for adults and kids. But I just couldn't find the music that I really felt compelled to want to hang with him more than just a minute or two. And then one day I looked out in our audience and I saw all these teenagers that were, grown up with us that are bringing their kids to the shows. And I said, well, there it is. I said I should make music for all of our fans again.
I love it. My husband and I actually have listened to the album several times. It's called Which One Am I?
Yes.
And the title track, actually every track, kind of deals with identity and like different struggles or challenges that people young and maybe a little older too deal with. Was it difficult to open up about the things that you personally dealt with when you were younger?
Well, actually, making the record was very therapeutic, believe it or not, because you're absolutely right. I got together with some great writers, Tor Heim and Lisa St. Lou, and after we talked over the phone and we're discussing like what we wanted to write about, they're like, your life story is pretty interesting. Why don't you just talk about that? There was a lot of issues that I dealt with as a little kid, everything from being shy to worrying to being height challenged to being my older sister's shadow, to even the first single, No Habla Español, which was loosely based around when I was a little kid, what I dealt with my mother being Spanish, and she met an Irish, Scottish American, married, but as kids, when we grew up as little kids, we didn't speak Spanish. I was of that generation where a lot of parents were trying to make their kids Americanized and have the accents. And but every time I would go to, being around Latin crowds, they would automatically assume that I was Spanish and start speaking to me in Spanish. So I learned really quickly how to say No Habla Español, which means I don't speak Spanish. But it inspired me to want to be able to talk to kids and to be able to let them feel comfortable in their skin. And if that encourages them to learn more languages, more power to them.
I love that. I had a similar experience. I grew up Portuguese, but my grandparents didn't want to speak it. So same.
Totally.
I totally feel you on that. So do you have any advice for kids now who are struggling with similar issues, shyness, being in someone's shadow, maybe not fitting in quite yet?
Well, I think that's what I wanted to be able to do, was to open up topics for kids to be able to talk with their parents. I think, and that's why in the music I really made it lighthearted, because it's one of these kind of things where, kids, you have to get on their level. You can't talk down to them because they'll surpass you in 2 seconds and find out the information on the internet really quickly. And so I wanted to make an album where kids and parents could just be able to feel freely to talk about topics that they may have, not felt comfortable with talking to other kids maybe, or to other, adults.
And would you say that's kind of the secret sauce, maybe what was missing in the music before you created this album?
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel like there's just generation of kids now out there that if you're not able to talk to them, like I said, they will find out, really quickly online and possibly ways that you don't want them to find out. So I feel like it's good for parents to be able to open up that line of communication with their kids.
Well, that's wonderful. So you can find Which One Am I at howied.net and wherever you download music. Of course, you can also go see him tonight at Enterprise Center. And we're going to be talking a little later, too, about a play that's kind of loosely based on this album that will be debuting in the Midwest